Hello class, and welcome to HI 223M, the history of medieval Europe. In this class, we'll be looking at European history from the fall of the Roman Empire until the completion of the Reconquista, the Spanish kingdom's effort to drive the Moors out of the Iberian Peninsula, which also happens to line up with the Columbus setting sail just a few months later. So it's a big chunk of European history, it's a big chunk of world history, and I think it's an important moment in the kind of the evolution of Europe or the West. A lot of the ideas that we hold on to today come from antiquity. We live in a democratic republic. Our two major political parties style themselves as Democrats and Republicans. Those words and those ideas, what they mean, what they stand for, come from the ancient world. But to get to where we are today, they go through this morphing process, where they're mixed with other influences. Christianity is kind of heavily layered into kind of a lot of all this. So this medieval period, this middle period between Rome and the beginning and the early modern period, it's a time when everything kind of cooks a little bit. Everything kind of gets mixed up. So I think will the court politics of 11th century England directly impact your life? No. Will the ideas and the cultural transformations that occurred during this period impact the society that we still live in? Yeah, absolutely. This stuff is still alive and real in certain ways. So, in this video, we'll take a quick look through the syllabus. I'll help you get oriented for what we're going to do in this class, and explain a couple things as far as my expectations go. So, we have 4 required books for this class. The one that we're going to use pretty much every unit is Judith M. Bennett, Medieval Europe: A Short History. This is just it's a basic textbook. That's where you're going to get the bulk of your narrative from. The readings in that will be supplemented with selections from a source book prepared by Warren Hollister. Then for your paper project, and this will come into some of the class readings as well, but the independent component for this class is going to be a paper kind of comparing a Spanish epic poem, the poem of the Cid, translated and kind of prosified a little bit, comparing that to all the course material, but also to Richard W. Cowper, Chivalry and Violence in Medieval Europe, kind of a look at knighthood and the violence that was kind of a part of what it meant to be a knight. I think knighthood's one of those institutions. The reason that I chose this as the paper, if there's, when I say medieval Europe, if there's one image that pops into your mind about this period, it's probably, a guy in a lot of armor on horseback. It is the kind of best remembered part of the medieval period. It's the most kind of signifying part of the medieval period. We don't really have chivalry and kind of the knightly class existing quite like this at any other point in the history of the West. So I think this is a good thing to analyze. So that'll be your paper. That independent component, that term paper, is going to account for 40% of your grade. And history is as a major, as an academic field, it's all about writing. No one really is going to quiz you too hard on who won the Battle of Hastings in 1100. If there's someone pointing a gun at you and asking you that question, your bigger problem is that there's a guy pointing a gun at you, not so much that you don't know who won the Battle of Hastings. Your phone does. The internet does. You can look up facts pretty easily. But how you write, how you present yourself, present your thoughts, present your arguments, that matters a lot more in this field. That matters a lot more in whatever your fields are going to be. So that's what I'm most interested in. Can you prepare and structure a good essay that is arguing a point? I have a writing guide that talks about kind of the importance of having a thesis, the importance of making sure that you're always writing with intention. We'll talk about that more as the class goes on. certainly if you have any questions about that, feel free to email me. I'm not planning to do any live sessions. We can if you want. Certainly if there's enough interest in that, we can try to set up a synchronous kind of webcam session. But that's not something that I've done so far. So doesn't seem to be a thing. So that's 40% of your grade right there. The other 20% is split between your other assignments. Participation on the discussion forums. I do have some prompts there. That if you want to respond to that, you can. What I would kind of what I would almost rather see is people kind of asking their own questions, or giving their responses to the reading generally. How did this reading change how you think about history? What did you learn from this reading? If you could bring that to the discussion board, I think that's probably more worthwhile than any kind of pre-staged question I could ask. So you get credit for doing that. You get credit for responding to one of your classmates. The discussion board is also there that if you have any questions, and you should, right? If you don't, I get nervous. There's complicated language in these readings. There's all kinds of different structures and kind of things that don't really exist anymore that you probably are not familiar with. So yeah, feel free to ask questions publicly. This is not an admission of weakness. This doesn't make you a bad person if you don't get everything about these readings right away. Trust me, you're not the only one to have these questions, and I think discussing them publicly on the message boards is a good way to make sure that the class stays on. All your classmates get to benefit from your reading and your inquisitive nature. There's a midterm and a final. Those are worth 20% of your grade. There's also little kind of evaluations at the end of each unit that's worth under 20%. For the end of unit assignments, I'm looking for maybe one or two good long paragraphs, about a page worth of writing. For the midterm and final, 2 to 3 pages. I'm always looking for analysis. I'm always looking for you to tell me the how and why something happened, not just what happened. The more of yourself, the more of your input that you can give me, rather than just quoting out of the textbook, the better you're going to do on these assignments. These assignments don't have set due dates. I know that these classes are kind of set up with some flexibility in mind. You're all busy and I believe working people. So the goal here is that you can kind of make your own schedule a little bit. Still, we're moving. I've broken the class down into what we're to do each week. Most weeks have 2 units. Some weeks have 3. If you fall a week behind, certainly anything more than a week behind, you're going to get swamped. So, you have a busy week. You're swamped with work, swamped with homework. Maybe you want to try to grind stuff out on the weekend. But don't let this stuff stack up. That is how people fail this course more often than not. The other way that people tend to fail this course is through academic dishonesty. There is a lot of stuff out there on medieval Europe, right? We've been teaching this. We, kind of the academic historian field in colleges, have been teaching medieval history courses for a long time. There's plenty of people that are super into this stuff as a hobby. What that means is if you just punch in knights into Google, all kinds of stuff is going to show up. Don't just copy and paste things off the internet. That's plagiarism, and you will fail the course automatically if you do that. But also, look for. We have. In the books that you're ordering for this class at the library, which has actually a pretty good number of online books or ebooks, you have real good, peer-reviewed, serious information available to you. Use that. Don't go to history.com and see what they have to say about the medieval period. Don't just Google and see what comes up. Professionalism matters. Expertise matters. Use information written by professional experts. So if you do that, the course will generally go well with you. If you get lazy with it, obviously, it goes the other way. Yeah, and the rest of the stuff is all pretty much boilerplate. If you have a hard time writing, again, this is writing intensive course, see if you can schedule a distance session with the Learning Resource Center. They have a writing center there. They will help you with your writing. Again, this is a good skill not just for this class, but for everything you will do ever. Right? Like, we live in an online world. Your first job application is going to be sent via an email once you get out of here. If that email isn't professional, isn't polished, you're not going to get the job. So learning how to write is super important, as kind of face-to-face interaction means less and less, as the existence of this course indicates. So, you learn some stuff. Here's why the school wants you to learn some stuff, some skills you're going to learn. I'm looking at the syllabus, by the way. I think I mentioned that that's what we're doing here. So, okay, and then when we get into the course schedule, again, there's a little icebreaker activity that we can do on the first day. It's just to get to know each other. I'll fill one out too. Don't take that too seriously, but it's just a way that either you get to see my face, I don't necessarily get to see yours. This is a way that I have some idea who I'm talking to, and I can start to tailor some of my input around that. And then, like I said, things are broken down into weekly sessions. That's how they're going to appear on the Blackboard site as well. The independent component has its own tab on the Blackboard site. I think, probably... When's a good time to start that? Probably around weeks 5 or 6. Yeah. Would be a good time to really start, once we get to that point in the class, we'll set up kind of where knighthood comes from and what the situation is in Europe at that time. That'll kind of orient you to the setting of the poem of the Cid, and then you can go from there. So, if you want to jump on it earlier, great. But I think that's, if you haven't started the paper by the end of week 6, get moving. Okay. So again, any questions that you have, I'm michael.diaz@dc.edu, which is there on the syllabus. Please let me know any kind of concerns, special needs, anything else that you think I should know that will help me do my job better, help you enjoy this class more. All right, good luck. I look forward to working with all of you, and I will see you in class.